Rachel Morin, the mom who went for that jog and then was found brutally murdered along the path, justice still not being served there because we still don't know who the actual killer is, at least the identity of the killer. We believe that we've seen him on tape now, but that's just about it. There's even DNA evidence, but still, if that can't be traced to anything, it doesn't go anywhere. Here to talk about it a little bit more, Robin Dreeke, retired FBI special agent. Robin, this is a case that I think we looked at initially and thought, wow, they already got a guy on tape. They got some DNA shortly after this horrific crime took place, but not much has happened since. Why do you think that might be?
Yeah, I originally commented on this one quite a bit, very hopefully as well, because when you have door cam footage from LA, they had put the DNA from a home invasion out in LA into the system. They get a match because they have DNA evidence from the murder scene here in Maryland. And you're thinking, hey, well, at least we got a DNA match. So we have people in a place to interview out in LA. They sent the police officers from Maryland to LA to coordinate with them. They've sent them down to DC on a lead. They've been up to Chicago on a lead. So they've been covering all these leads. And so I was thinking personally, the trail was kind of hot.
Hmm.
Even though we didn't have any arrests right along, we had an area where you have people that probably frequent lists routinely that are in a routine of going walking on the trail. So they probably have seen someone that looked a little unusual. You have houses that you could canvas, people you can interview. So I was thinking we might have some leads to follow and this would come to fruition. The only thing that really struck me early on as a challenge was how did this guy go all the way from LA to Maryland? What was the cause there? I was thinking that there was some social media connection here. She had admittedly been on dating sites. And so I'm thinking that there's going to be a digital footprint of some sort that they could link to him stalking her, tracking her, following up with something, that there'd be a way to do that. Because to me, I don't have the stats in front of me on this. Randomness and murder tend to not go hand in hand all that frequently.
Yeah.
I tend to people tend to get targeted in some way. And this, it can be very, very loose. It could be a photo someone sees and they kind of do a loose form of stalking of them, but something spurs someone to say, I'm going for this one.
Hmm.
And especially when you're talking cross country, that to me is hard to be random, especially, this lady, she's known to go out on this trail and go hiking, running, exercising, and she's on social media and dating sites. So I'm thinking this is someone that was probably tracked, at least observed socially, or she put something out there that allowed this heinous individual to target her. And so you would think that would leave a footprint, but we're not finding a footprint. And that's why I think it's important for us to continue to talk about this, because what the family did in the interim, since nothing's come up yet, is they've hired a private investigator, and a private investigator did some canvassing, they did some interviews, and I'm paraphrasing all the actions here, obviously. But they identified the fact that the individual from the investigation in LA is of Hispanic background. And so they canvassed the area and talked to Hispanic individuals in the Maryland area who are completely unaware of this, that has even transpired. So they've actually redoubled their effort to get the information out to a group of individuals and people in the area that might not even been aware of this. So they're trying to do a better job of canvassing, but it also shows the challenges of law enforcement. If you have an individual that doesn't leave a footprint, and we saw this with the Cavalcante case too, the escaped convict from Pennsylvania. So here's an individual that comes in the country illegally. He doesn't have any credit card history. He's existing on the goodwill of being a day laborer and family members and friend members. It's easy to stay off the grid. So because there's no legal documentation. And so if we have a similar situation of this individual who is undocumented, has no history of credit cards, and all we have is some DNA, but DNA that can't be tied to anyone, it's very, very challenging to nail someone down and get them. In other words, if they did cell phone, I know they did this, they did cell phone triangulation in an area, and no, and you don't get a pop, that means he probably didn't have a cell phone, or at least had it turned off. Who does that? Well, someone who doesn't have much money, someone who's living day to day. I mean, so all these kind of things come together to say it can be really hard to do our job when we're trying to find these killers, unfortunately.
What do we know about the video and the police visit and investigator visit to that house, if anything, right now? I mean, that was something that was the big spark. Everybody thought, "Wow, we have a house. We actually it looked like a child that opened the door and let him out." Where did that go? I mean, wouldn't some of these individuals have knowledge of who this person is in some way, shape, or form, or where he came from, or where he might be going?
I have no idea. I would have thought too because it looked like someone closed the door behind him.
Yeah,
So even if it was a home invasion, it was cordial enough that someone closed the door for him as he's exiting.
doesn't seem like any home invasion I've ever heard of.
It's just it's a different look and a different anytime you see a different look, that means there's lots of data points in there to be exploited to gather and coalesce. But when I was listening to the sheriff, no, or the chief was speaking, a couple days ago, and it was I think about 10 days ago on this again. He gave a press conference with an update, and he was kind of not doubling down in the sense of, oh, it was only this. He's doubling down on the fact that this was a home invasion and they've interviewed the people involved and they don't have any more information. I'm like,
Mhm.
that was kind of odd to me. Now, we never know the full extent of what law enforcement knows for the investigation, but at the same time, though, I think we would know more
Mhm.
because the fact that we still don't have a name and we don't have, we got a description of the individual that would come from the home invasion, most likely. That's it. So it's really kind of sparse, but we do have the fact that there was some substantial leads and not um suspect interviews, but there were interviews done in other states, kind of shows that at least we were given more information to kind of get some more information in both in Chicago and in the DC area, which again shows this individual's traveling. How they traveling, why they traveling, coast to coast. I mean, you would think that if someone was settling down in an area that they would kind of exploit that area first, but this one's traveling, which makes me really one of the reasons why this case is important to me because it has the potential hallmarks, and I do my little fingers here, the potential hallmarks of a potential serial rapist.
Yeah,
And those are the ones that are really, really hard to track and find because typically they're targeting sex workers, and sex workers are typically trafficked.
yeah,
They're brought into that industry completely unwillingly. You're disenfranchised, and a a serial rapist can go up to 400. Some of them have done, and you never even know because their targets typically don't come forward to law enforcement out of fear and shame.
sure.
And so my fear is that this will evolve into that, or is that already? So that's why
Yeah,
I think it's important.
I mean, look at Rex Heuermann and that whole
Yeah.
case. What is a better tactic to take in something like this if they have information leads to follow him around? Maybe are they just a step or two behind, and that's why more information is not being released to the public? Or would that be more beneficial to have information out there on this person so you have more eyes and ears on the ground that could potentially they run into this guy if they see him to then send law enforcement that way? Is that why you think it might be so quiet? Is because maybe they are close, but they're just still he's evading them just a little bit each time, or is there just not much to give out?
I don't think they're very close, unfortunately. I don't get the sense, when you look at how the briefing went with the chief, it just didn't seem like there was much there. And the information they do have, they're going to release whatever information they think will be of benefit to the public to bring this to justice. If there's nothing there that they think will benefit, so there's a lot of interviews that they might have done that just wouldn't serve the public trust. It wouldn't serve the case moving forward in any productive way to finding the individual. Because the only reason you provide information to the public at this point is to help find the individual. So what we're seeing though from a lack of information is they have a lack of information to provide the public to do just that. And I trust that they are too, because all the efforts that they put into buying bicycles, getting four-wheelers, all the things that the local police department did and are still doing with the number of investigators they put on it, I completely believe they're doing a great job of due diligence with the resources they're pumping at this. And the fact that we don't know more says that we don't have more to be able to share yet. I think going maybe into these different communities and getting the word out another way, doing a social media campaign that the family's starting, that might help. We'll just keep our fingers crossed that something will pop soon.
Yeah, hopefully. Hey, it's Tony Bruschi. If you want more of our interview with our guests, be sure to check out our podcast, Hidden Killers with Tony Bruschi. Just search that wherever you download podcasts and press subscribe. Also, you can check out our YouTube channel for the full video version of the interviews as well, under the same name, Hidden Killers with Tony Bruschi. Check it out, subscribe, binge, and enjoy. Thanks for watching.